This video is about when you're given a set of data, such as for number 1 we've got coin flicks and it's heads or tails. And this is our set of data. And then you're asked to put it into a frequency table and then draw a bar chart. So our first step, if you've got this data, is to put it into a frequency table. Now, when we're going to tally data as we are here, then we're going to have 3 columns. We're going to have a column to put heads or tails, that's the way the coin lands. Just put heads or tails. And then you've got the tally column. So often the tally column will be the widest column, so I'm going to leave a bit of space. And then lastly is the frequency column. So as I'm drawing this table, I'm thinking how many different categories or how many outcomes are there going to be, and it's just either heads or tails, so it's only going to be a small table, heads and tails. And there's our table. So 3 columns, and then it's got to be long enough for each category. So now we're ready to tally away. Should have done tallying data before, so cross out the H and put a tally in the heads column, and same for tails. Important to work on this accurately. It's so easy to make a mistake, as often there's a lot of data to be tallied. 5th tail here, so I'll put the diagonal across to make a group of 5 heads. Always good to check that we've got this the same total as there are pieces of data. So we'll put our frequencies in. So 6 add 7 gives a total of 13. Are there 13 pieces of data? Let's check. Yes, so the check's right. There are 13 pieces of data. I've got 13 there. There could be a mistake, but that's a check. Now, going on to drawing the bar chart, the vertical axis is always the frequency axis. So I'm going to write frequency in. Always important to label our axes. And how about the scale? Well, our highest frequency is 7, so it's got to go up to 7. There's 9 squares going up, so that's 1 each. Will allow us to put a scale up to 7. On the horizontal axis, that's going to be the outcome of the flick of the coin. And there's only 2 different categories, and so the width of the axis I can divide it into 2 and have one label as heads and tails, and we can now draw our bars into the correct height. So heads goes up to 6 and tails to 7. Always good to use ruler and pencil when we're doing charts. I'm using a pen here so that it shows up clearly on the video. And we can shade our bars if we want to. Last thing when we're drawing a bar chart to remember is to put in the title. So this is a bar chart showing and it's the outcome of coin flicks. So that's our first example. Let's have a look at our second one. On this one here we're looking at scores in a class test. Now sometimes it's useful to group our data when we're putting it in a frequency table, and often you'll be asked to do that and maybe told what groups to use. But first of all, let's start our table going. So we're going to need the 3 columns again. First column is to do with what those numbers are about, so it's the score in the test. can just write down score. Then the next column is the widest one, it's the tally column, and then the third one is the frequency. So now it's crunch time. We need to think about how many rows we're going to put in. Now, if we're going to group them, then what we're looking for is groups that cover or include the smallest value going and go up to the highest value going. So looking at these scores, the lowest is 10 and the highest is 16. So we're going to do groups of 3. So 10, 11 and 12. That'll be our first group. Next group's got to be the same size. It starts with 13, 14, 15. And then same size again. After 15 comes 16, 17 and 18. So that's the smallest group, that includes 10. The largest group includes 16. So that's enough. So we can now put in our columns and we're ready to tally. So 13, which group does 13 go in? It's the 13 to 15. 14, 13 to 15 column again. 16, that's this one here, 16 to 18, and so on. That's our fifth. 16. So, ready to do our frequencies. And that gives us a total of 12 altogether. So there should be 12 values. I've got 2 rows, there's the same in each row, 6 in each row, 2 6s is 12. So that's right, we've got a total of 12 values. Now, we're going to draw a bar chart or frequency diagram of the information here. We'll start with the vertical axis again. It's always the frequency axis. We've labelled that. Now, we need it to go up to 6. How many squares are there? There's 8 squares, so that'll be comfortable to fit on 6. Notice I'm putting the numbers on the lines. And now we've got 3 different categories, and we're going to have 3 bars, so we need to divide this line into 3. How many squares are there? So there's 9 squares, so 9 divided by 3. So there's 3 gaps with 3 squares in each. So our first category is 10 to 12. I'm not doing a scale, notice. It's not like this, so I'm going up 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. This is distinct categories. And 16 to 18. And then I can draw my bars in. So 10 to 12 goes up to 4. Thirteen to 15 goes up to 6. Notice that I'm drawing bars all the same width. That's important because it's showing that when you look at the bars you can see that they are it's the height that matters rather than the width. So if we draw the same width, it doesn't distract people from looking at the height. So there's our bars drawn in. If you notice something I've forgotten to do on the horizontal axis, I've not labelled it, have I? So let's put in that these are the scores in test. And then there's one more thing I need to remember to do. It's not got a title yet, has it? So let's put the title in, and it's the scores in the class test.